Hello, everyone. My name is Andres Diaz. Will and I are back again for another spectacular Marvel Plus talk. Sorry for the delay here. We were just talking about Fast and the Furious, folks. Because Will saw all 9 films last week, right?
Last weekend.
Oh, wow. Weekend. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Anyway, besides that, we were talking just a bunch of Fast and the Furious. So you have a favorite? What's your number one? I'm kind of curious.
Fast and the Furious?
Yeah, number one.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Either 7 or 5 or 2.
Yeah. Oh really? 2 is high.
I really liked 2.
I mean, I do doubt that. Number 2,
yeah.
Like the ending with the cars coming out from the garage.
Oh, so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gave me Mission Impossible 2 vibes.
Oh,
and just like the level of camp.
The camp.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They were very dumb movies.
Oh my god.
And my brain is rotted for having watched 9 of them in 48 hours. But
oh my god.
Yeah, it was fun.
I'm so happy because I think now I want to ask you guys to come with me to watch Fast 10 now. Because I was like, you need to see the new one.
Well, we were gonna go see it. We had gone to eat at Olive Garden during our marathon because when you're there, you're family. And so the plan for Fast 10 was
just
to go to see Fast 10 in Manhattan and then go to the Olive Garden at Times Square.
Wow, that's ambitious. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, darn it. Okay, so it has to be the week after. Okay, you guys are lucky. Now I'm going to be in London that week when it's come out.
All right.
Oh wait, I could ask my mom. Maybe you could go to the theater in London and watch it there.
But you wanna fly us all out to London?
Well, I mean, no, I mean, I hope I could.
No.
No. I was saying me and my mom, like,
yeah,
go,
okay. That makes much more sense. Yeah,
I was saying, yeah, me and my mom could go to a theater in London maybe and watch Fast 10.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so we'll discuss more Fast and Furious later on in life. Anyway, so today in Marvel Plus Talk, that's what we're here. We're going to talk about a franchise that is also even longer than Fast and Furious. Of course, we're here again for X-Men podcast. We're doing X2, X-Men United. Happy 20th anniversary. Tomorrow, May 2nd, before I post this podcast tomorrow, is X2's 20th anniversary, which is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a chance to rewatch it twice. So yesterday I saw it again. Rewatched it yesterday, and then today I saw half of it again to just keep up my memory. And so Will, overall thoughts on X2? I mean, we did the ranking of X2 in our X-Men ranking. It was pretty high in our list, I think.
Yeah.
Mine was 4th. I don't know what was at your ranking. I think it was at 3, I think.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that.
But yeah, no, I really like this one. Growing up.
Yeah.
This was the movie that like made me interested in the X-Men for a little bit. So.
A little bit.
Yeah. I still like them. It's just not my favorite Marvel thing.
Oh yeah. No. I thought it was because of what happened with X3.
Oh no, I think I still haven't watched X3 all the way through.
Oh wow.
At least not in one sitting.
I for a person, I gotta say, X3 was my first X-Men film in theaters. Mm-hmm. I mean, at the time it was okay. It's not the worst movie. I mean, we included in our top 10 ranking.
There's only so many X-Men movies.
Yeah, that are good.
I think it was in the top 10 ranking because there's like 11 X-Men movies.
Yeah. well, and I didn't want to include Apocalypse or Dark
Yeah, no,
Phoenix.
yeah.
So
There are
yeah,
ones that there are worse X-Men movies, I guess.
yeah. I'm just saying, X-Men 3 is not the worst experience, but it's not as good as X2.
Hmm.
But it was a big letdown. I mean, I it, it's I think one thing that's so impressive is like these are the first superhero team franchise for the Avengers, and so I think that's one of the unique things about Marvel when they started to push more of their products in movies. Is, this was the first one because you think the Justice League would be the first thing to come out from a superhero movie,
That makes
but
sense. Yeah.
you know, but no, we got X-Men first, and then like after that we got Fantastic Four. After Fox made it in 2005, and
Hmm.
then the Avengers came around, and then it's like after that it was like okay, Marvel Studios started to pick other obscure teams, which is good,
Hmm.
which is great. Um, I guess first off, um, I think one of the great things about X2 that really has stood test of time for me and hasn't been like outdated. It's just the confidence and bigger budget they have this time around to
Hmm.
really like expand upon the themes of prejudice and racism in their film,
Hmm.
and just much better villain plot than the first film. I'll
Yeah.
say that's the key point that makes this film really great. And using a source material, this borrows the graphic novel. I don't know you read the graphic novel, God's Man.
No.
That sorry, Man kills, God loves. I think that's the storyline. Excuse me. God loves and Man kills. The graphic novel that this movie is based on X2. So, but yeah. So let's take us somewhere. Will what thing you want to discuss in depth that makes this film so great? So we can start from there.
Um. Yeah, I think just the way it's able to balance all the characters in it. Like
Oh,
that's a really important aspect for any like team movie, but for X Men in particular, like, you have all these iconic characters, and you gotta give them each like screen time and give them each story arc to have. And I feel like they do a good job of having a pretty wide cast and giving
yeah,
them appropriate time to like show off their personalities and everything.
yeah. I agree. Like Iceman first appeared in the first one, and it was really cool that they expand his role a bit more,
Hmm.
particularly with his parents and all that. But it's sort of important because it's kind of cool to see that one of the mutants that we know didn't, their parents weren't aware of this um, development. So it's kind
Yeah.
of cool to see it in bold, and it helps develop not only for Iceman but also Bio, or the fire person.
Pyro. Yeah.
Yeah, and how he's sort of jealous of Iceman with the
Hmm.
life he has, but despite that, he's going to lose it anyway. But yeah, it's very important character development. And even the returning characters, like I think with the rewatch, I thought that Storm had like a decent enough stuff to do here.
Yeah.
Like I really like her. I like the combination of her and Nightcrawler. That's
Hmm.
something I never really expected. I really like that they were going for a more friendship that they were developing, and like how with Nightcrawler's Catholic faith, he say beliefs. I like how it goes back to Storm, and she like copies what he say. I have faith, and yeah, you should have faith. I think that's what he phrased. And then she said, "I have faith in you" when they're in the dark cerebral, and
Hmm.
then the climax. So like that was cool that he kind of rubbed like quite a bit on Storm about his faith and all that, and like it really helps to help him push teleport into that like another version of cerebral that they need to stop killing the mutants or humans.
Yeah.
Um, and then you got Magneto and Mystique, the two villains that came back from the first film, and seeing their dynamic between the X-Men, which is first off, it's something you don't like. I don't think you've seen that in any of the superhero films prior to the Marvel stuff. Like, with the Batman films, they kill off the villains.
Mhm.
Superman was the only franchise they had like a returning villain, so it was cool to see a returning villain back and seeing the juxtaposition between Stryker's mutant review of mutants versus Magneto's point of view of the humans, and to the middle is Xavier's goal of human and mutant equality, being kind of shaken up with these two supreme forces at play in this movie.
Mhm.
So they really play up the ensemble cast because the first one, um it was like introduction, so you didn't have time to play around with your characters, and so in the second film you played around more with your characters. And Wolverine, he was our eyes and ears from the first film, and here he's still great. um you know uh, you know, whatever you think about X Origins Wolverine, I think X2 does such a good job of teasing you what happened in that Weapon X, but not giving you the answers.
Mhm.
And I think Hugh Jackman does a great job here, with his desire to learn who he was, and I like how at the end he just accepts to be part of the X-Men instead of just leaning to more like who he was, because of
Yeah.
what Stryker say to him. So that's the big thing, for me. Um, yeah, and then I guess when we get to nitpicks, I mean, it was still disappointing not to see Cyclops doing nothing. You know, uh, I wish Cyclops got more to do. And it was kind of cool to see Colossus, but I mean, it'd be kind of cool to see Colossus in the play here because I mean, despite Deadpool play more with him later on, but whatever.
Mhm.
Um, anyway, but speaking of Stryker, one of the great things by X2, just like any sequels, is a villain, and I think X2 has the best villain. I mean, Stryker, played by Brian Cox, is so amazing.
Mhm.
I really love this version, and I mean, when you see him first in that first scene in the White House, is like right away he just gets my attention, and especially when he talks to Mystique, who's impersonating Senator Kelly. His rumble of like you were a Woodstock kid, and then him being in the Northern Vietnam War is such a great way to tell that he's like very like military, like war hunger to end the mutants so fast, in a very adventurous way. And his speech to Xavier about how his kid tortured them is so dark. Like I forgot how he talks about how his wife drill like what is it? He um drill her left temple to drain out the images that his son was projecting on them. Like
Mhm.
very dark stuff. I never imagined a movie this budget to do that, but it's impressive how they did it, and it's just Cox's performance is really great, and his death is also the best deaths too. But what do you think about Stryker's death? Well, Stryker in jail in this film.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more familiar with Brian Cox now. I've been watching
Mm.
Succession, so
Oh,
it's
really?
fun to see
That's
him
good.
uh, in this role now. Like now that I've seen him in other things,
Yeah.
and
I know
yeah,
you've seen Manhunter. He played the Hannibal Lecter.
I've heard that his performance is really good, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's directed by Michael Mann, who did The Heat,
Okay.
with Davison and Robert De Niro movie, 1995. It's a very intriguing film. It's like uh, for film scholars, is a vibe movie. So,
Okay.
like, if you haven't seen a Michael Bay movie, it's very stylistically film. Not like plot is not really the main focus of Manhunter.
Yeah.
Where
Style over
compared to
substance.
Yeah, but not in a bad way. It's actually
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's a good performance to check out. But yeah, oh man, Succession is great. I love the trailer. They made one of the guys say he's like a assassin Santa Claus, and it really is true. He could be Santa Claus in a movie
Yeah.
someday.
Very angry Santa.
Yeah. But yeah. So yeah. Go. Sorry. Back again for Striker.
Hmm.
Uh. But it's crazy. It's amazing we haven't had him play again this role because the character comes back a couple of times in the film series,
Hmm.
and it's been kind of disappointment. Like nothing can live up with this version that we got.
Yeah, he's definitely the best one.
Yeah, yeah. I never expected this version to this character to pop up multiple times. I and what helps with the sequel I mentioned was the plot. Like uh you know this is taken from the graphic novel from God, let me say this right. God Loves a Man Kills. That Stryker in both versions or like take kidnap Professor X, and then the difference is in the graphic novel and this, he created a machine for Xavier to kill the mutants in the graphic novel. Where in
Hmm.
this movie, he literally takes the cerebral to like kill all the mutants, and I think that's one of the best plots we have so far in the movies. Because yeah, you think about it. I mean, Xavier is the most powerful, and like
Hmm.
cerebral is the most dangerous weapon. So I think using that to be the main plot to for your villain is actually a really aspiring choice, and I think they do such a good job of building it up in the film. More so than the first film with Mike Neo's mutated machine, where we never
Hmm.
got answers, and like it was so vague what they did with that. With here, it was like more clear because we saw it the first film how cerebral was used, and then here we got more like exposition in the beginning where Xavier showed Logan like okay, the red is like the mutants, and then the like literally the whites were like the humans, and and he had this one line quickly. If you don't pay attention, he say if you concentrate harder, he'll kill him. You know,
Hmm.
and then it gets back. It gets repeated again with Magneto to remind you that so this is a dangerous thing. So I really like the use of Professor X here and using Cerebro as the weapon for the villain for this movie. But yeah, I guess the question I have is like I guess he wants half the parts. I I don't understand why in towards the end when Magneto is trying to refigurate it. It's like, do you need to refigurate it to target the mutants and humans? I I don't know. You have that idea, like, because in the second cerebral, it's like you see half of the covers, and then there's like some open spots. I wonder if that's like a way to tell you that it's configured to target mainly on mutants. Like, I I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. It
I,
just
I,
felt like
it was just a plot
a
device.
convenient plot device. Yeah.
Okay, well, I was just kind of curious because when you did his like when you know levitates, it was like, okay, what are you doing? Because like I don't know, it just that excuse me, that was just a nitpick that I never noticed, but it did bug me. But anyway, okay, I guess let's get into Wolverine because one thing it that has been accused of with these films is like how much Wolverine centric it is,
Hmm.
and I will say, I mean, if you pay attention to the first two, it's a pretty like clear arc of Wolverine trying to discover who he is, and I think X2, just like Aliens, it's really a sequel that finalized that whole arc. Like we don't need to go back to X2 or like the whole Weapon X thing at all when Wolverine accepts he wants to be part of the X-Men and like
Hmm.
just decided to not learn who he was, you know. And I think that's one of the great things about X2 is that they handle that and also give time with the other characters. As you say before, Will, we spent time of the characters that they do have arcs during this movie. Seeing Iceman had to accept that his family is not going to accept him, or Rogue is like learning to control her powers. It's not like forefront in the film, but like you can see it that she's almost there to control her powers,
Hmm.
especially when she has to drain out fire his abilities to like just get out of the fire um in the car stuff and the police stuff and what other character that like Jean. Jean has an arc where she is like having these like connective future visions of what's going to happen throughout the movie. You know, and then she has to accept that she's going to die. To set up the Dark Phoenix thing, which doesn't get paid off well in three, but whatever. Yeah, so I think it's a valid argument that Wolverine is the focus, but I don't think it's bad here than say the later installments. Like three, he's there. I mean, I think him becoming a leader in X3 makes sense, but because of the short time and just underdeveloped characters in X3, it's kind of annoying that Wolverine gets more of the shine there. And then, of course, you got the first prequel slash spinoff about Wolverine, and he gets shafted in his movie with a bunch of mutants that we have in that film. So I don't know what you think about that argument. Do you think it's handled here in X2? Um,
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I don't really have too many thoughts on it, but
yeah, it's because a lot of people like discuss that, and I just want to bring that up.
yeah,
It's
definitely
something
worth
else.
touching on. But
Yeah. I brought up Jean. Let's get into that. What do you think about Jean's role here? I thought that they did a good job with her here. To set her up how big she's going to be in the next installment, despite
yeah,
what we know now. Um, I like the stuff they do with her in this movie.
yeah, me too.
And it helps. Yeah. Like it continues what happened with the first film.
Mhm.
Like something happened when it hasn't been the same since the Liberty Island incident. To say,
Yeah, um,
um,
and she seems a little more active in this one.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Uh, I will say that was kind of funny. Um, when the missiles hit, you think Storm can hit it with his lightning, right?
yeah, I had the same thought.
Did you have some thought? Because
like
when I rewatched
Storm
it,
had just done all that stuff to like,
the tornadoes, right?
yeah, to like discourage the Jets, and then she just stops, and it's time
Yeah,
for Jean to try.
yeah.
Um,
It's like
yeah, Storm could have handled
I
all of that.
Yeah, like either a tornado, I mean, like a lightning or, water, something. I don't know. Like,
Hmm.
it, it's like Stern was so lazy at that moment. It's like, come on, I get you're driving the plane, but like, you're not alone piloting the plane.
Hmm.
Oh my God. That was one I was like, oh my gosh, she could easily done that. Straight those ghosts. But no, we had to tease the Dark Phoenix. It's just to show off like Jean's power.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but I will say, we watching this. Do you think they were ever going to do the alien thing, the Dark Phoenix Force, or was it be more like a mutation to the next level for G?
It it always felt like it was a mutation thing in the
Okay,
movies.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
Do
I,
you?
I thought
Hmm.
I I think I agree with you with the mutation thing. Because I mean, it's very vague what was the plans for the third film.
Hmm.
Like, because I think Bryan Singer mentioned that Emma Frost was going to be in the third film, to simulate the Hellfire Club, maybe. I don't know. And it seemed like that when Jean was getting out of her cocoon, I guess that Emma can help her control her new abilities. That's what it seemed like. Because I never liked the idea that it was like a split personality thing, whatever.
Hmm.
The X3, I think, confirmed that it was like a split personality that Jean had that was controlling her and her powers. So it never made sense in X-Men 3. So
Yeah.
I like the way they were doing here. That was like her next stage of mutation. But what we got here was what we got with X3 was just very Legion, if I have to say a word. Like she felt more like Legion in that film
Hmm.
with her like personality like disorder. I think if you call it that way. I mean, like, oh, if you had to say bad things about Dark Phoenix, I mean, the least they did was put the Phoenix Force there without really going too deep, which was the bad part of Dark Phoenix. The Sylvie turn
Hmm.
movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know, because initially they were going to do the Dark Phoenix as the second film, so that's what I heard.
Hmm.
But yeah, so apparently they were going to do Dark Phoenix right away, but one of the writers kind of stopped the the director Bryan Singer to not doing that to like slowly set up that installment in the future,
Hmm.
which I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't know. I mean, they led some crumbs in the first film to lead that, but like how Jean had that weird reaction when the machine got destroyed in the end of the film, but it wasn't enough to tell that like her powers was gonna be wacky in this film.
Hmm.
But yeah. So, in yeah. Anyway, so I think Jean was good here. I speaking of Storm, I mean, still, Halle Berry is not our favorite. Um, I think this is her best performance. It's not as annoying as the first. I mean, especially with the tow line, um, or yeah, the third film. But
Yeah.
I think this was her best performance so far as Storm. You know.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, you got to give it like like at least they give her things to do here, and she has some petals to go through.
Hmm.
With Nightcrawler, which I like, and she has a great moment with her powers with the tornado. Like that was really cool to see because the first one was like lightning, and then just her flowing. You know,
Hmm.
so I think they did a good job here. So you agree that this is her best performance, I guess.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right. Then let's get into the new characters. Nightcrawler. I like Nightcrawler here.
Hmm.
I was shocked that they nailed his German. I know Alan Cummings knows how to speak German. I'm very impressed that they nailed his character here so well. Like they got his Catholic stuff right. His
Hmm.
look is really amazing. The makeup and yeah, and I mean, I know we haven't talked about it yet, but the opening White House attack is one of the best openings for a superhero movie.
Hmm.
I Oh my god, it's just so amazing. What do you think about Nightcrawler here? I wish that he came back for more, but
Yeah.
he did. But yeah,
Yeah. He's definitely my
but
favorite of the new characters. This movie just really made me like Nightcrawler as a character. Um,
that's good. That's good.
yeah. So I was like when he pops up and things. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, like you were saying, the like practical makeup for Nightcrawler and continuing Mystique just looks so nice. Uh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Oh, you brought up Mystique.
Hmm.
They do give us the scene with them, if you know that they're like the mother and son.
Hmm.
which they didn't confirm that, but I like that they throw that to like give it to the fans that they know that they're like a family as well.
Yeah.
Sorry about the family. But yeah, so yeah, I think it was great that they brought that curly hair, and yeah, and one thing I don't think I discussed this in the first X-Men. The thing that helps these movies really help to show the different various powers being used in the film, like because before the trouble was back then in superhero movies, it was the effects. Like we're not at yet the time to really visualize the power set of these characters, and the first X-Men film and this film entering this did a really good job of exploring and like show you the different types that we can see in the screen. Like we see Kitty Pryde and in the attack, and like you see her walking going through the walls. It's like very impressive. Like you never seen that in 20 years ago. Like you couldn't see that in 20 years if they made this movie, right? Or Colossus. Colossus is one that like you could maybe see like a person cover something, but like in that CGI form looked really great. So I think that's one of the things about this movie. It continues the special effects of seeing different types of superpowered people in the screen, which is good because it helps to lead into the Avengers, where you already kind of get used to it already with the multiple characters with different abilities. So because at the time we didn't, unfortunately, couldn't afford to do that in the big screens until X-Men came around. And that's why like the White House opening is great, and the tornado scene is great, and Mystique is great here too. So and speaking of Mystique, I like Mystique here. I think Rebecca Romaine does a really great job here. I think her shifting abilities are like way better here. Like her shifting to different people is great, especially towards the end when you see her shifting to different people. That was like very cool. And yeah, and then seeing her in human form and drugging the really juicy security guard that is guarding Magneto in the plastic prison. Just moving him and then pumping him with iron, which is crazy. And is that even possible? Like putting iron into someone's body?
No, it wouldn't work like that.
Yeah, that was maybe laugh so hard. It's like, oh,
It's, yeah, like there's technically iron in your blood, but it wouldn't.
Oh,
it wouldn't work like that.
wait, so you're telling me Magneto can easily create iron in our bloods?
No.
Oh no.
It's not magnetic.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, I was like, oh, so why he needed Mystique, or why he needed to escape with iron, well, metal in general, if he can create it in our blood anyway. Okay,
Well, it doesn't create it, but
no, he doesn't. He just manipulates it, right? Yeah.
Right, but it's it's a very unrealistic. Even like within the rules of the X-Men universe.
Yeah. I mean, they toned down like a lot of the X-Men abilities in the movies.
Right.
Like, I mean, not X-Men, like Magneto. He's way more powerful in the comics than the version we see in the movies. If you've seen the cartoons and all that, Yeah. So, but yeah. So, thank you for clarifying that, because I was kind of wondering, like, could he feel like any metal in his body? Like, I mean, could it kill him easily? I don't know how that guard survived, and 24 hours before he, literally got killed by Magneto. So, Anyway, speaking of Mike Neal, one thing I don't know if you agree with this. This does handle two villains, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Mike Neal isn't the villain, but like he becomes the villain towards the end with him switching cerebral targeting the humans. But I think this was a good way they handled the two villains problem. Like they don't team up. Like I mean, Magneto fortunately is kind of being used and like just as a lab rat for a striker to get his information how to build cerebral and how to raid the mansion. And I like how Magneto is like he sees the true ugly nature of humans with Stryker, and like him doing what he does towards the end makes a lot of sense. And I really like the direction to do here. Ian McKellen is really great in this film. He has really great like lines, like the prison escape is like another great scene in this film. I mean, of course, we're joking about the douchey security guard with the iron, but man, when he takes it out and you see the blood and his shirt bleeding in, it's like so like dark and graphic. I can't believe they allowed that in this film. And he's like having that smirk of like killing him, because what happened, like the constant abuse he got from him.
Mm-hmm.
And then his lines like "Never trust a woman, Mr. Royal," and he does his wink towards the end of that line, which is so great. But yeah, it was great to see like a prison break and in such a great fashion. I love that plastic scene. In general, Magneto with the X-Men was great to see his relationship because of the first film. Like Wolverine and him have still that like bickering. The scene with Rogue, like he likes what she done with her hair, and it's just gonna like kill him with touching him, which was a great scene for Rogue. But yeah, so I really think Magneto was great here. But what do you think about Magneto, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing Ian McKellen as Magneto in any movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with what you're saying, that the movie really figured out a way to balance having two villains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and I mean, three villains, right? You think about Mystique.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then Pyro's like turn.
Yeah. That was good too. Let's get into him. Rewatch. I like that we got like another bad guy developing to be the bad guy. We don't see that enough in films, and like it was cool to see how cocky he is. Like I like how they use Pyro and Iceman, how these two like young mutants in the Xavier school, and seeing how they use their powers, and like you see how Pryor is just being cocky, he thinks he's better than them. And I like how especially the line when he talks to Magneto and about he can create the fire, well, like manipulate the fire, he cannot create it. And then Magneto tells him that he's a god among instincts, telling him not to doubt himself, that you're powerful as any other mutant, among the humans, so, and I think his term made a lot of sense, which is great. With the examples that I mentioned, especially with the house visit with Bobby's parents, so which is good. So and I think he was the best thing about the X3. It's like they do like follow through their friendship slash amity ship, if you call it, the X3. So but I guess now we can. I guess we can do like nitpicks. Do you have any nitpicks, Will, about this movie? Like, what stuff didn't work for you? We can go into that now.
I guess there were a few just like instances where people could have used their powers, but they didn't. like we
Okay.
talked about before with Storm, just deciding to stop. Like,
Initials.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. There was another one for me. Uh. Well, I guess it was Nightcrawler. His teleportation. Like he has
Mhm.
to see where he's going.
Right.
If he, I, I don't know. Like I get it, but then it's like, how you know you're gonna be trapped in a wall? Like what that mean? What that means? Like I don't like. Like they should like the only way they know, or like if they know that it means like they don't know that he's a teleporter, you know,
Hmm.
what walls or something like that. I don't know. That was a weird excuse for Nightcrawler to not teleport in that, you know, the underground layer, but like it's like there's no walls, you know, the underground walls.
Hmm.
So that was weird.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Um,
What else? What other characters use the powers? That was another problem.
I mean, there's one. The part with Jean was like holding back the water.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, and you had Iceman and Storm right there,
yeah.
who
Yes.
could freeze the water.
Oh my God, yes. Well, well, well. Yeah, that's a good point. I, her going out there is the most stupidest thing she did because she could easily done it in the plane. Like,
Hmm.
can do something inside, like use her hands to lift the plane and then like stop the water, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then now you bring up the Iceman and Storm. I'm like, oh yeah, like Iceman can have easily frozen the water or Storm with together, like form like a hail or something like that to freeze up the whole rupture of water, right? Oh my
Hmm.
God, you totally amazed me now. I'm like, oh yes, we have literally two characters that can create ice. You know, oh my God, yeah. But then like I do question if Iceman can able to generate that big of ice, like to freeze up the whole water. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I I mean Storm,
Yeah.
I
No.
believe. You know, Storm, I believe she can do it, but not Iceman in this version and in this sequel. But yeah. Oh man, that's a good one. What else that was kind of weird? Um, I guess. What are, well, there's other nitpicks like Mystique when she stops like impersonate Senator Kelly. Like should someone kind of want if they made the third sequel with Brian, like could they address the Senator Kelly die? Like
Yeah. How long was she impersonating Senator Kelly?
this movie doesn't give you a timeline. It has to be like a couple of months since the first film.
Okay.
Yeah, like they don't do they don't give you 6 months or a year. Like it seems like it's like not too long ago.
Yeah. That's just like that's a long time
Yeah,
to
and then to
be
stop.
impersonating a senator,
Yeah,
like a very
yeah,
visible person.
yeah. So it's kind of weird, especially if you pay attention to the marketing from the first film. He has a family,
Yeah.
like you know all that. Oh, um, what was it? Another one was Lady Deathstrike. Like
Hmm.
it's kind of convenient that they have another mutant claws and heal, right?
Hmm.
I do find that kind of weird, but I mean at the same time, like we do have multiple mutants having the same similar abilities, right?
Right.
You know, but so to speak. Oh, the Lady Deathstrike. She's a great character in the comics. I actually seen her in the animation show in season 3, and I mean she's just basically a Sabretooth copy in this film. You know, I
Hmm.
you know despite the action scene with her Wolverine is way better than the Sabretooth one in the first film. But it's kind of sad that she just, you know, just there to be eye candy slash eye candy slash a foe for Wolverine to fight towards the end. Um,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so I was kind of disappointed they didn't do anything with her because she's a really good villain, and she has a good background, and I kind of wish they did something more with her. Um, but her death is really dark. I don't know if you know this, but like when Wolverine puts more animatin on her, you see her eyes like got off, like she got off the brainwash, and you see her eyes being the normal eyes, and it's like so sad that she looking up from this control that she got from Stryker.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that was a really dark death, and I that was like really brutal. And I do like when we first see her, she does the knuckles. It's so funny.
Mhm.
Just the reaction of the security guard and the people in around the office was hilarious. I don't know, you like the knuckles. And I like how she does it a couple times. But yeah, but yeah, I just thought that Lady Deathstrike was just here to be a Wolverine type for Wolverine to fight.
Mhm.
And then I guess Rogue. Um, I don't know. You agree? I mean, she has a small role here. I feel like
Mhm.
I I I mean, I like that she's somewhat controlling her abilities, but I thought we could have done more with her in the sequel.
Yeah. She definitely had a smaller role.
Yeah, compared to the first one.
Right.
So, I mean, despite her relationship with Iceman, well, that is maybe a positive. I actually dug the Iceman Rogue relationship. Um, that's something I think a lot of people don't understand that's not from the comic books. Like you're so used to the Remy, the Gambit, and Rogue relationship, and here, this is completely different, and I actually don't mind that. I think the Iceman and Rogue romantic relationship is pretty good in this film. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know if you agree with that. So,
Yeah.
okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, so question. I do give you kind of a question. Did you read well before we get into Cyclops? Anything to say about Cyclops? I know you're a big fan of Cyclops. Do you have anything to
I
say about him
do. I do like him, but I feel like these
Okay.
movies underutilize him.
or shaft
Um,
him
yeah,
every
and
time?
I really like James Marsden too. Like, it was great casting, but
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
Yeah. His was a concussion blast is like so much cooler in this film.
Mhm.
So they did a good job. Yeah, it's kind of sad that he doesn't do anything besides being brainwashed in the final act. But
Mhm.
he does a good job of being, very devastated of Jean's death.
Mhm.
Like that was a good scene. Like, I mean, Hugh is great there too. But like, I think James and him really like James really sold that well. Of this person he really loves and uh, died. And so I think he did a good job. I wish he had did more, which is really sad. But hopefully the MCU do something more with Cyclops. Hopefully, cross my fingers. We'll see. But yeah, I was shocked at how little. Like, I mean, forget about X-Men 3, but like you see him in the beginning, and then when we get to the plastic person scene, that's like the last time you see him throughout the movie, until you see him again, like while we're in the third act. And that's like
Mhm.
40 or 50 minutes into the movie. Which is sad. Is there any characters we have to address? I think we covered every character, right?
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay, because there's a lot of mutants, and there's gonna be more mutants when we get into Days of Future Past, or or X-Men 3, or Origin Wolverine. I don't know why they made so many mutants in there, and oh my god, whatever. Apocalypse. Oh my god, and It's just too many. Anyway, so too many mutants here. So, question. Did you read the graphic novel God Loves and Man Kills?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I did. It's been a while. I read this storyline. It's a really great X-Men story. I highly recommend you, Will, to read it. Um, it's really great. It's the basis for this film. I just want to get into just the similars and the difference between this movie and that story that they adapt. So like basically, the main villain is William Stryker. That's the same. The teaming up of X-Men and Magneto is there. Um, Difference. Mystique is not in the story. This is just the movie version because Mystique survived from the first one. So she's not in that story. It's just Magneto. Because in the graphic novel, Magneto is like is like doing investigation of these like hate protesters that are killing these mutant kids. That is employed by Stryker in the story, and that's how he gets involved with the X-Men. So that's in the story, and that's different from the movie, where the movie, you know, reason Magneto teamed up is that he knows Stryker because Stryker has brainwashed him and tortured him with information. And I think in the film, we briefly, Professor X knew William Stryker because he took in Jason as one of the students, which we'll get into because that's also creepy. Also, same is the use of Professor X and Cerebral to kill all mutants. That's the same. Now, big difference is William Stryker in the story and the graphic novel. He's actually a reverend. He's like a priest, like one of those like folk tellies. And with Jason, the son, his son is not alive in the story. He's actually a stillborn, and he kills his stillborn in the storyline in the graphic novel. Where in the movie, his son is grown up and it went through mutation on that, and then when Jason rejected his parents, of course, Torture Stryker has completely brainwashed his kid and used it for his formula to brainwash all mutants that he has, particularly Late Stage Strike and Magneto, and then he used his son to brainwash his Professor X to use the Cerebral. Okay, but they're both mutants, but they're just used differently. Now, he this is in the film. Yes. So in the film, this is something that is not in the comics. Stryker is not the one that creates Weapon X and he gives Wolverine his medal. That's the comic character is Cornelius Stark. I think that's his name. Or Cornelius is the main scientist that does the Weapon X in the comics and Weapon X storyline. And they sort of merged that with Stryker here to be the main to create Wolverine, because all that is not in the graphic novel. And Wolverine is in the story, but all that is not in this graphic novel. That's mainly in the film because we're focused on Wolverine. So that's the big difference. Okay, and this is true. Like he does kidnap Professor X and Cyclops in the story. So, fortunately, with Cyclops being shafted every time, this is like literally actually page from page from the comics. So yeah, but guess who's going to be the third? There's actually a third person they kidnapped in the story. I guess who?
I have no idea.
Okay, that's Storm. So Storm was the third casualty that was kidnapped in the graphic novel. And then Jean, actually, speaking of Jean Grey is not in the graphic novel because Dark Phoenix, the saga, happened already while the story was developing. So you don't see Jean in the story. Where in X2 you do see it, and they developed the Dark Phoenix thing for the film series. So that's what's going on back in the 80s. Instead of okay, Okay, so and the big difference, Magneto does try to use the Dark Zero in the comics, um, to limit the humans, but it actually, oh no, sorry, yeah, okay. So instead of trying to escape, so the difference of Magneto when he turns the Dark Zero to turn against the humans, that's different from the graphic novel. The graphic novel, he actually escapes with X-Men and moves on from this event. So that doesn't happen in the graphic novel. This is all the movie. So and that's it for the main difference between the graphic novel and to this movie. But overall, it's pretty similar to the story that I've been mentioning, and it's pretty accurate. It's sort of like what they do with X Men: Days of Future Past when they adapt their story. It's like they take the main basics, but they switch around or they adjusted the storyline to fit into the movie version. You know,
Mhm.
so like in Days of Future Past, because we're in the prequel timeline, we didn't have the Brotherhood of Mutants because the Brotherhood of Mutants are major thing in Days of Future Past with Mystique, because Mystique started the new second Brotherhood of Mutants group in Days of Future Past in 1981. That short story. Another thing. Before we head out, I want to say names of the computer. Did you catch some of the mutant names that Stryker's computers say?
Oh, anything interesting?
Well, some of it is very funny. Like we see Eric and his file. We see Gamut. We see the Silver Samurai, Multiple Man. We see the Maxisofts. So they Maxisofts that has a two. So it's probably just testing the twins, Scarlet
Hmm.
Witch and Quicksilver. Kevin McTaggart. That's Morris kid. That's also a mutant. Blue Star is, or Merch is there. You see Storm's name in the list. Beast. Oh, that's another thing. Beast is in this file, but also we see Beast in a cameo in the bar when Mystique is trying to seduce the douchey security guard. I don't know if you catch that. But we see him in his human form before
Hmm.
we see him in his blue form. And weirdly, he's talking to Mr. Shaw. I don't know if they're like that was like Sebastian Shaw from the Hellfire Club. But
Yeah, I don't
anyway,
know.
I don't know because that's just weird with the timeline we have here. But whatever, it's X Men. They're weird with their timelines. Okay. Back to the screen thing. Black Tana Catacy was mentioned. Polaris, the other daughter from Magneto, is mentioned. Sunspot was mentioned. Banshee, Blob, Fred Dukes was brought up. So that kind of lined up with Origins Wolverine. So that's good, I guess. Um, and then there were side projects there, like Omega Red was brought up. Mirror Island, that was the Scottish Mutant Research facility that Mara was working on, McTaggart. Project Wide Awake, that's a file that was the code name for the Sentinel project. So that was like your hint of the Sentinels.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Then this one I didn't know long before. This is a Fantastic Four Easter egg. Flanking Richards, the son of the Fantastic Four parents,
Mhm.
is mentioned here. And then Cerebral is mentioned. Uh, yeah, and then there's like other names that was brought up, like the main ones we have in the film. The Struckers were brought up. The band Struckers. Dazzler was brought up. Apparently Deadpool was brought up. Uh, Mr. Sinister was brought up. Oh my god, I didn't see that. But oh my god, now I need to watch that again. Anyway, Kitty Pryde was here. Psylocke was brought up. She was like up to the corner, and I think that's it for now. And then there's other things that was connected to the interrogation that you got for Magneto, like information about the mansion, the Blackbird, all the stuff there. So that's all I had to bring up. So, but yeah, so X2, uh, 20 years, Will, 20 years. Can't believe it.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's a lot has happened in those 20 years.
yeah. And I mean, this in Spider-Man 2. I mean, Spider-Man 2 is going to be 20 years next year.
Hmm.
I think with those two back and back, it really helped the superhero genre to be stronger than before.
Hmm.
And I I will say, outdated. I think it's still strong, and um, I did like a pop culture respect review today on this film, and I say it's not outdated. It's still relevant with its themes and um, it, its themes and characterizations has been very strong since 20 years, and I think so. Did you do you think this film is somewhat outdated, or it's still timeless since the 20 years that it came out?
No, I think it still holds up.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's got great like character moments. Um, that really help it like last and kind of compete with even like current superhero stuff.
Mm, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I agreed. I mean, they really step up with the action and characters arcs in this film. Um, I really love this film. It's still my favorite. I'm so happy I rewatched this because it's been a while. I seen this film. Um, but it still has it, and the pace is much better than the first film. Um, and speaking of that, John Ottman, the music, I really dug the music here this time.
Hmm.
The X-Men theme that we got here, it's really strong. It's great. Excuse me again. It's really good. I mean, it gets back in Days of Future Past and Apocalypse, and it's still a great theme. Wish the series was consistent with its music, but whatever. That's science. I think this is where Marvel Studios took their music from this franchise. Unfortunately, it seems like I don't know why. Anyway, so before we go, what was your favorite scene and action scene from this movie? Like, what's your favorite action scene from this movie? There's a ton.
Yeah, I think it's got to be the opening with Nightcrawler in the White
Oh
House.
yeah. Oh my god. It's still great. I still get chills watching it.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Yeah, and the music is also German. I actually never
Hmm.
know that. That's actually kind of cool they did that. But yeah, like that's such a great way to open your movie and just showed Nightcrawler at his best. Um, okay. For me, best scene, best I think action scene I will say. Oh my god, there's so many. Oh god, I need to be careful of this. Wolverine attacking the soldiers at the mansion. Like that was great. Like see him cutting through them. Not in Logan territory, but like it really showed Logan is was it Berserker Rage in the film? It's just cutting through the soldiers in the X Mansion. So
Hmm.
I really like that scene. It's just terrifying seeing soldiers evading and then the kids
Yeah.
running. So it's really a great scene to really elevate the villain plot forward. In the next
Hmm.
final act, which is good. But yeah, well, I think that's we had to say about X2. Will, thank you. Um,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah. Now you can relax. You can drink Corona. Uh,
Yeah, drive a muscle car. Oh,
okay.
okay,
Yeah.
you're back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I was saying you can relax. Drink some Coronas.
Hmm.
Like Dom's has done in the Fast and Furious. I don't know why they love the Coronas. For some
Uh,
reason.
product placement.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be a deeper meaning. It's like the taste of coldness that the Corona has.
Sure.
Or just take Mr. Nobody advice to try the Belgium beer
Hmm.
and the Figure 7. But yeah, so Will, Next Friday is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah, yeah. I got my ticket today.
Oh, that's really great. I'm going to see it on Sunday. I just
Mhm.
need to talk to Chris to line that up. Speaking of that, I'm going to vacation soon, in the 14th, and because uh, so I was thinking, I wanted to talk to you, Will, about this. I was thinking maybe Friday the 12th we can do a podcast to do the Guardians podcast, if you don't mind to do that.
Friday the 12th. I
Yeah,
might be
or
busy
okay,
Friday.
okay. Maybe because maybe next Monday, 8th, if that works for you.
Sure.
Okay, so because I want to get that away because I do want to do the Fast and Furious ranked with you uh, after I come back.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
okay, good. Because I love that franchise. I I mean we're getting the 10th film, which is crazy.
Mhm.
So I mean, Van is trying to make the Infinity War Endgame of the Fast and Furious, which is crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm very curious about your rank later on. But anyway, uh, again, thank you, Will. Thank you, everyone, to listening to this podcast. Me and Will will be back again soon, next Monday, for the Guardians Galaxy's forecast. As we discussed, I'm gonna go in vacation in the 14th, so the 15th is not gonna work for us to do a podcast there. So anyway, I'm gonna get that soon next week. Have a good night, everyone.